We did it. We did it.
We did it, and we are live. I am so sorry, everyone, for the tech issues. It always happens, but we're here now, and yeah. So first off, welcome to episode number 8 of Real Review. We are getting closer to the double digits now, which is very exciting. Today, joined by Ash Reed. Ash, I'll let you do a little bit more talking about yourself for a second there.
Hey everyone. Yeah. If you haven't met me before, I'm Ash Reed. I try to get along to all these meetups up and down across the country. I'm a senior, sound design supervisor at PlayStation Studios Sound. I've been with them for about coming up to about 4 years now. Um, but before that, I've worked at various studios like Ubisoft, TT Fusion, CCP Games, Sumo, Newcastle. Yeah, in total, been working in game audio for about 11 years now. And as some of you also know, I like having a sneaky look at all your reels. So couldn't pass up this chance to look at more.
Yeah, super excited. You're big in the real community. So let's get so bad, so bad. Let's get into some actual reels. We've got 3 today, so we're gonna give some extra juicy feedback.
Cool.
We are starting off with Simone or Simone. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. But yeah, let's just jump right into it. All right, so first off, well done, nice one. Wodan Game Audio, or Simone. So, initial impressions, I'll start out with this first one and then I'll hand it over to Ash. So, yeah, I can very clearly see here that you've got that what kind of style you're going for. It's a little bit more AAA. You've got all of your great annotations here. All in all, I think like really good content. Definitely starts off with the strongest redesign as well, which is good. The one thing as well, just noticing, looking at this waveform, like I can't speak. The dynamics are quite intense here. So especially at the end, you're entering the red zone potentially a little bit. So that's just something to be wary of. In terms of the length, I think it's good. It I didn't necessarily feel like this was too short or too long or anything. So yeah, overall, pretty solid reel. I would say general first impression is really kind of details. There's like a lack of detail in a lot of the places. I think at the start it's the best, and then it kind of like as it continues goes down. Go on, Ash. What give us your thoughts?
Well, this is where my social anxiety and first time ever doing a live stream awkwardness comes in. You didn't share with me the video, so I couldn't hear or see it. So can we like play it through one more time, please?
Sorry.
You've done.
This
Yeah.
is I had to restart my computer, by the way. FYI for everyone. So we did do a sound check. It was all my bad and my fault for basically just computer doesn't work. I'll just blame it on the computer. So second view, boom.
Now, dude, I can't see it.
Hold on. Let's see. We're gonna get this. So applications, Reaper. Can you see my screen?
I cannot see your screen.
If you, let's see, we're
Oh, there we go.
yeah.
Okay.
Got it.
Yep.
Perfect.
All right. Now we can listen. Let's go.
Let's go. Awesome. So I
Right.
think, see, next time we'll just do it completely blind. We'll do blind reel review. No visuals, just audio.
Yeah.
Alright,
that
Ash,
was
go for it.
that was good. I liked it. Quite a lot of the attention to detail was good. A common mistake a lot of people do as well with their entry level reels is that they tend to choke off a lot of their sounds. So that wasn't happening here. A lot of the hit impacts had their nice gore trails, their foley trails, armor trails. Yeah, attention to detail is good. I tell you, I pay a lot of attention to point focus as well. So anything my eyes land on, if it doesn't have a sound, you should have a sound. All the coverage was very good. I think for this reel, it's more just leaning into the mix a bit more, and focus on all the high power elements and give them the boost that they need. So right now the mix is a bit too flat at the minute, but very easy fixes.
Awesome. Let's go through the clips. Just another thing I noticed before that on an overall stage is the stereo image. So I think this one is an interesting one always, and I'm sure you see this a lot as well in reels where we mention this every episode, but mono versus stereo. So there's a lot of places where in game dev you kind of are just like, most things are mono, and then if you make it really big, or if it's like a ambience bed or like non-diegetic music, it's stereo. But when you're doing linear redesigns, you can kind of be a little bit more lenient with it, of course, but then that also leads to a lot of stereos used from people. And so one of the things I've noticed, especially with this creature, is like the footsteps are super stereo in our ears. And that might be a stylistic choice of like making it feel really big, but at the same time kind of like it's not as spatialized. So I think just for everyone who might be a little bit newer to this, putting your sounds in mono can really easily kind of bring them more onto the screen, spatialize them, and make it easier for them to kind of be inside of the picture. Yeah. Any thoughts on that, Ash?
Yeah, you can do a blend of both. Generally, when it comes to creatures, anything that's taller than a human is obviously going to weigh more. It's going to have a bigger sense of power, more sense of weight. So what we ended up doing, though, a lot of times in Returnal, was for the bigger creatures, the base of their footsteps would be in stereo, so you have the spread, but then the mids and high ends would be in mono. So like that creature there, it's very bony, so you're going to have like knuckle cracking or whatever kind of foley. That could all be in mono, so you'll have the placement of that. and then just have the stereo assets of the footsteps, so you get the overall weight. Because bass, as anyone who owns like a speaker system, it doesn't matter where you put the sub, because because of the wavelengths, it's not directional, so it doesn't really matter. But you can definitely do hybrids for something like this creature.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, I mean, like yeah, exactly. Like using spread as well is such a cool and underrated technique. So I love you mentioning that, especially with the reference of Returnal, where creatures are awesome. Right, let's dive into some of the details.
Yeah. All right, pause here. Yeah, so the all the battles here for me, all the battle foley sounded nice. Everything was there. Again, everything I looked at, I even looked at things my eyes didn't naturally fall on, and I could hear something for it. I think for this is where the changes to the mix will come in. Anything, use point focus for your mix, and two main areas of improvement for just this bit here would be when the flag goes past, get a kind of whoosh in for there, just a cinematic effect or something along those lines. And then when the horse comes in, that feels like it needs, there feels like it could be way more, a lot more weight in there, like up by plus 3-4 dB, just to add turbulence to the whole sequence. Yeah,
Definitely agree on that. Also, stuff like this, I think it's really, I'm a big fan, and this is from, shout out to Lewis Thompson here. When we were working on the quarry, there was a lot of like different fight scenes and stuff, and I did a bunch of the Foley with it, together with Molinaire, and basically it kind of ended up sounding very like, but it wasn't that exciting. So Lewis went through and put tons of cinematics elements into things to sweeten it up. So things like a big or a zoom, stuff like that. Little transient distorted elements that really bring it out. And so just seeing this here, we've got people running across the camera, and I think that would be a really cool moment to put in a little bit of a sweetener that's not necessarily diegetic, and it will make it more cinematic, but elements
pre-wishes,
like that. Yeah.
Pre-wishes, man. Everyone, keep an eye on your pre-wishes. If you don't have them, put them in. They add weight, they add anticipation, they add power, they add, that cinematic spice. From like little sword swings to full-on horses like galloping past. Try and get some kind of pre in there, and it'll just make your sound just feel much fuller.
I like the terminology pre-whooshes. You termed what is it, the bookends as well. That's such a cool term for the creature stuff that you did in your Returnal talk ages ago.
Yeah, it just seemed to make sense, and I was absolutely regretting picking creatures to work on Returnal. Never done it before, and I was like, oh, what did I do? And then luckily that kind of fell in my lap, went along with it, and it made a lot of work a ton easier. But again, pre-wishes, make sure you've got them in your redesign reels and sound design reels. They do make a massive impact.
Yep, for sure. So I think as well, like this moment here, there's not that much going on, and it's good to have like contrast and stuff, and not to be super high octane all the time, but you've just kind of had like this cool down moment where it's like, okay, and now you want to build some anticipation again, and the thunder is cool, but it's like green and interesting and like magical, and the thunder's not even very high in the mix, so it's like, could we maybe make this a little bit more of a moment and build some of that tension and mystery? And I think you can also, we have the liberty as sound designers to, especially moments like these, to make sounds for things that don't exist. And so It's like, get creative. You know, what would this sound like?
Yep, exactly. Implied audio. That's all it is. If there's nothing going on the screen, do more of the audio. You can use like a thunder rumble. You can have like a metal screech. You can have like a reverse sword scrape. Like, just do something like a not something musical, but just more like a nice sting. You're doing a sound effect sting. I mean, composers and sound designers can fight outside about this, but in terms of sound redesigns and sound design reels, you can definitely put in a little. Again, just it's in the cinematic stem track, you know.
Yep. And I think here again, like the Foley and everything is super nice. All the sounds you've got in there are great. There's just not much else going on, so it's kind of like, could we maybe hear some battle ambience in the distance, or
Yeah,
the smoke clearing, things like that, just to flesh it out, to give you a little bit more of kind of the feeling that you're in a world, because you've done it so well at the start. So it's like, bring a little bit of that into here.
yeah, totally. Just don't have dead silence. I mean, I know it's like a slow mo kind of reveal, face off kind of deal, but just that little layer of really quiet battle ambience will just complete this whole section.
Yeah, definitely. Right, let's move on. All right. Any thoughts for this one, Ash?
I'm missing all of the audio for the flail for the chain. I noticed that when the don't worry, there's plenty of good stuff in this as well. I'm just going to go straight for like the point focus thing. I looked at the flail because I quite like flails, not for any weird particular reason, but I noticed there was no like chain audio for it, and then my eyes were locked on that for the rest of the segment. Going, come on, there was some chain, but it'd be cool. Just do another take. Just hold a chain and just rattle it for the entire way through. Other than that, pre-wishes are nice, impacts are nice. The gore effects are nice as well. Again, I think mix-wise, it's just a case of just picking. I've seen a few reels where people have very combat intensive, like this, like from medieval to anime kind of game fights, and the mix is just like not a sausage, but just like no dynamics in there. And the easiest way to do that is to just pick like that execution bit there, pick all the parts you think would be the heavy attacks, and bring them up again. Like, don't bring them up if you're already like slamming your limiter. Bring everything down, like -6, and then try again. But yeah, just pick out all of your explosive moments and just lift them up, like just +3, +4, and then you'll just get the dynamics yourself, putting that back into your reel, and it'll make things feel a bit more natural.
100%. For me, also, just I think one of the things is got a lot of Foley in here as well, and I'd love to hear a little bit more on the armor side of things and kind of the general movement and the clinking. Not maybe too much, because that kind of not having too much makes it feel a little bit more faster, lighter, and they're moving very fast, but at the same time you can see there's so many different elements, and yeah, I think that would really help to flesh it out a little bit more. I also really like the UI stinger at the end. I think it's great how you've stylized that. I'm such a big fan of like stylized UI personally. That really fits with the game's content and fantasy. So yeah, nice. Yeah.
No. One more super quick thing I'll do just before we go to the next bit. With that parry that the knight does, where you've got that really loud ding, like just the sword hit ding and it rings out. to the next one. Yeah, there. So it rings out forever, but he's already grabbed his sword and he's done more with it. Either cut off the ding, so for when he grabs his sword, or if you want to make it like a super parry moment, like chuck loads of effects on it, so it's like a non-diegetic representation of like how the battle's going. Other than that, no, like the foley in this reel is really, really nice so far. I really like it. It's not used sparingly.
Yeah, I think like this is the common trend that's going on here is like the stuff you have is really, really good. Just more fleshing it out, using some of those tips that we've mentioned. Nice. I think the biggest thing in here for me is, as I've mentioned before, is the footsteps is super stereo. And then the other thing is just the hits don't feel very impactful. You had them so good in those other clips. You're obviously doing lots of like medieval weapon sound design, so just kind of, I feel like, might be wrong, but this feels like the clip that's the oldest. So I think it'd be worth revisiting with the knowledge that you've gained from like making this other stuff, and yeah, just go back to it and kind of implement those. What do you think, Ash?
Yeah, totally. I mean, on top of that, I think I really like the creature's vocals. It's quite nice. It would have been nice to have the second cry to be quite different to the first one, just to hear the range and scope of it. Two things I would do for this creature. I mean, you've got the zaps are fine. You've got the tips for like make it, advancing the footsteps. It just feels like the whole creature's just it's a bag of bones, and I've still got all my skin and meat, but I crack more than this creature does. Like my knees are absolutely shot. So it'd be nice to hear maybe have a go at like two passes. One where you've got like wooden tubes of bamboo, or probably not bamboo. That's a bit too. You need something tubular, not plastic or metal, with some resonance. Have them knocking about for like the really big bones, and then just get some. Just records. Get the old peppers and celery, and just get like a bunch of not slow twists, but just cracks, and just get loads of them, and just put them all over the place. I mean, it's a big skeletal creature, so my brain's going, oh, it's going to be arthritic as can be, but it's a bit too smooth. But other than that, still a good pass. I do really like the vocal. It's nice and creepy.
Definitely, and that's some really great feedback. I have a question for you, Ash. So, this is something I think that's really controversial.
Oh no.
By a lot of people in the industry, but there's a little bit of clipping in here, and so some people love it, some people hate it. How are you standing on the point of clipping?
Right, we're talking about just the general mix clipping or like crush clipping in the design?
Well, I think so in this case.
Yeah.
So this is definitely, I'm not sure, this might be an actual mix of it, but probably I would say more of, well, you go for it. You can give both opinions on both things.
Well, I'll say straight away what my brain's going to. I think it's a case of this that when working on this segment, everything got put in. Everything was exciting. Yeah, this sounds awesome, and then just make it sound loud, make it sound big. And if you have a limiter, it just sounds like your limiter's getting absolutely slammed. It sounds like it's going beyond like -8. Very easy fix. People seem to overthink this kind of stuff. Some people think I'm a numpty for underthinking this stuff, but for this segment, just grab everything, all your loudest parts, just bring everything down again to -6, and then just bring like. Normally, what happens is that you've got an imbalance of your lows, mids, and highs. It's as simple as that. You've either got too many in your source for lows, and you're lacking definition, or you're just literally pumping your limiter. And a lot of the time you'll realize when you're absolutely smashing your limiter, if you bring everything down more and more and more, the volume's not changing, but also everything starts to get clearer. So you're giving your source material its dynamics back, and then you can give everything a second pass. Make sure you've got your mids and highs. I almost said treble. Like it's not 95, but just make sure you've got a gentle balance amongst everything, and that's how you'll fix this segment. But when you're crushing your limiter, good for sound design in general, but not where it can. Yeah, it's unforgivable, really, if you've got it on your master. So just bring everything down. But for sound design, go nuts.
Nice. That's some great advice as well. I love that. Also, chat. So first off, thank you so much, Vincenzo, for the support. It means a lot. All of the money goes towards sustaining game audio learning, keeping that website up. And then we've got a question from Adam. What's your opinion on footsteps during battle scenes, both in-game and cinematically? I find sometimes ignoring them entirely or being very judicious sound better to me, but I suppose it's subjective.
So we could talk about this context, can't we, with massive footsteps? Okay, well, there's pretty similar situation to what we had with I only know the Returnal creatures' dev names, not their actual names in the game, but like the first massive creature, like, that absolutely slays everyone when you first meet him. I can't remember. He was just called the Hulk. His dev name was the Hulk. But he had big, boomy, resonating footsteps, and it was mainly Loic who mixed the game. He had all kinds of sidechain craziness going on, but he had it so that obviously you need to hear everything that the player's doing. You need to know when you're getting hit, when your weapon's ready, when a spell's ready, when you need to hear all those things. You need to hear your strikes. And then when there's a gap in that, that's when you hear the footsteps. And that's when the footsteps are the scariest, because a lot of the time, like, take Resident Evil, for example, you'll hear the footsteps are scarier more when you're running away from them. So that's when that's when they're most prevalent in the mix. One, to freak the player out, and two, it's just a switch in dynamic as well. If you hear constant booming footsteps all the time, that sound itself will get fatiguing. And again, just using Returnal's mixing as reference, you just lose all the essential information that the player needs. But when the player's not doing anything, that's when the footsteps will come back in.
Nice. Yeah. That's definitely some solid advice. And yeah, there's like, if anyone wants to know, I think there's like there's definitely some articles written about Returnal, I'm pretty sure. And obviously an interview, I think, on a sound effect as well. So yeah, more info in the Google world. Cool. Well, I think overall, really, really great, real Simone. Nice job. All in all, more details, I think, is the big takeaway here.
Yeah, more details, and let your mix breathe a little bit more. Controversial thing. I nearly blew up Game Audio saying this a few months back. Turn your compressors off. You don't need compressors. What's a compressor? Just limiter. Use limiters. They stop you blowing your computer and speakers up, and just let your source material breathe for itself and pick your big, bold moments to have them louder and the rest quieter, and then you'll just have a dynamic mix.
Yeah. Awesome stuff. I'm gonna clip that and use it as clickbait for no.
Don't. When I tweeted that one time, of people got the joke, but then eventually I had people explaining to me what a compressor was. I was like, I know what a compressor is. Anyway.
All right, to Brana Barrows, and I've got it on mute next. Sweet. What a great like editing and flow choice in terms of how you've done it. The the whole way this is put together is really awesome. I think
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't think I've seen someone use a building getting blown up as their splash logo.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
That's
nice.
cool.
Could we? I don't know. Could you bring up your Reaper? I feel like the Reaper output's a little bit on the low side.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I'll bring it up a little bit. I think also the reels are this one is a little bit more louder. Yeah, whoops. There we go. All right, I'll just play it again. Is that better?
Yeah. Transition. Thank you.
Yeah, incredibly sleek. I mean, this great reel. Like this is super cool. First impressions for me is like everything you've got in there is really solid. It's all about fleshing it out. There's a lot of places specifically where I can, well, we'll go in later, and there's like some more details you can add just to make it extra juicy. But the stuff you've got in there is really high quality. The way you've put this together is awesome. Yeah. First impressions, Ash.
Yeah, it's really good. I'm happy that there's pretty tasteful transitions in there. Some really nice sound design. Feel the Foley could be a bit more. Again, not better. Every reel I ever see, there's no bad layer in any of them. It's just the Foley in this one could be built up on a little bit more. What else? Some of the creature sounds, they sounded awesome, but they kept being heard like off screen, so it felt like the placement was a bit off. Someone in chats mentioned about like nice use of silence before blowing everything up. My drum and bass brain wants to do some kind of like a and then the pop, but no, the use of silence was pretty nice there. Yeah, overall some pretty good sound design chops.
Cool. Details. Let's go.
Where
Where
yeah.
does this first clip end? Here. Ooh, nice. Yeah, so personally, I think the biggest thing is this is also a little bit subjective, but make it more aggressive. Like there's someone literally being burnt specifically here on this place. I would just love to hear more of like a kind of like a I don't know, lasery something ethereal type thing, and then the same when it blows up, it's like it looks so powerful and aggressive, and at the moment it's feeling a little bit more magicy and subtle. And
Can
yeah.
we hear that bit again? Yep. Okay. Quick, super easy fix for that. Just need to get the physical layer working a bit more. Your crumbles and cracks, rocky. Like you could literally, in fact, go to the bit where the roof crumbles down. You can grab whatever source you use for that, for like the tiles falling off, and then just copy that and put that in like the fire, just to get that burning ember physicality behind it. A lot of people do design awesome sounds, magical sounds, a lot, but when they're designing for like a spell, anything that has a high concentration of energy, you do need to get your physical elements in. Rock crunches, wood crunches, glass crunches, metal scrapes, kind of. you know what I mean, like turbulent water, just anything to give that bite. And on the explosion as well, the explosion, they have the understanding of the delay, putting a delay in the low end, putting a delay in like the primary transient, then the kaboom. It's literally kaboom. What would be nice, just to make that bit a little bit sweeter, is to have a more pronounced like mid-high, like try pottery breaking, for example, but have it quite nice and bright, and have that as like the second or third in the explosion. It's just sounding a little bit pillowed.
Yeah.
If I
Love that. Also, I think you've kind of mentioned it already with the physical layer, but there's like cool debris in here. Stuff like that whirling around, just give it a little bit more like some would just make it feel more dangerous as well, like you're standing right there. Yeah. And then again here, I think this is all cool. Just maybe like adding in a little bit, couple more layers in there. Yeah. Thank you so much for the support, Noah. Much appreciated. And Tyler, or Aftertouch Audio, also says the kapow. And that
the kapow
is exactly.
Yep. Delay your explosions, everyone. Get your layers and delay them. 0.2 seconds. You'll thank us.
Right, next one. Which is muted. Yeah. So, quick thing for me before I forget. Big things is, number one, when these are coming down, your camera, stuff that moves past the camera, we've mentioned it before in the other reel, stuff like that. It just gives me a little bit more physicality and just sweetens it up nicely as you're kind of like passing, because there's not much going on, so it's like...
It's your cinematic effects.
Yeah, and you can make those also feel a lot more physical by actually using Foley. And then just putting it through something like Traveler or Tonsturm's Whoosh, and that will give you a nice like layer, and yeah, can just be subtle, but it'll add a lot to it. And then the other thing that I just really want to highlight is this little grenade schloop thing here. Like this is a big moment from in my opinion here, because it's like everything else is blurred out on screen. This is what we're focusing on our attention. So I would love to hear specifically like a sound for that. That's pretty, on the nose, I guess. Because I think at the moment it gets drowned out a little bit by the battle ambience. And then some of the shots also could just be beefed up a little bit. But yeah, go for it, Ash.
Yeah, it's quite a few people have done this segment in their reel. A lot is going on. And again, this is where point focus can help you out a lot. I feel that everything got covered here, but the point focus is quite off. It's we'll start with the Foley. So the point focus for when they land, see them land super heavy down on the ground. That you can make cinematic. You can do you can just absolutely slap a backpack on the ground and have that nice and bassy, and have that as their main entrance. And then when they turn to see the creatures, I'm not hearing like accentuated turn. It's all cinematic sound effects choices. But that's where we segue into. I'm hearing some kind of like oversea whale sound. Like we look at these guys and we keep hearing like, and then I'm not sure. There's a cool sound, but I'm not sure where it's coming from. And whilst all this action's going on, my brain's still trying to pinpoint where that sound is.
Yeah.
So in fact, could we? Yeah. Some people aren't sure what that sound is. Let's listen again. Yeah, so it's definitely from the creatures because you hear it left and then the camera goes
Yeah.
left. So I think maybe getting because what else? The other stuff that's there as well. The hissy grunting that kind of works. Maybe marry the two sounds together, but having just random but cool sounds playing, all over the place. It kind of distracts the listener almost.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that.
Yeah. And even again with like point focus, like my eyes straight away went to when she put her hands when she clasped her gun. Nice foley for when grabbing the gun.
Yeah. Yeah. That stuff is awesome. I also thought like the general ambience was really nice in terms of like felt pretty busy and hectic, but not in a too overpowering way, I guess. So yeah. Very
Yeah.
nice work.
Yeah, a lot of coverage the focus just needs shifting. That's it.
In that case, let's move on. So yeah, this clip. Do you want to start off with this one?
Yeah, can do. Think the main impression I got from this one is it's a bit on like the bass shy side. And I'm not saying as in there should be bass constantly everywhere, but there's a lot of explosions going on, so there's a lot of plosives. So with plosives, like I said earlier, you need to have like explosion attack, and then 0.2 seconds later you get your bass hit. Well, if you want to be really smart with it, depending on how far away sound travel. If it's really far away, put 0.2 second delay on like the bass. But I'm not feeling the percussiveness that could be there. Again, a lot of stuff is getting covered. Can we quickly listen to it again? Yeah. Okay. Again, point focus. There's a lot of coverage in there, but it feels like for the wrong reasons. The moment you transition in, the guy falls to the ground. He just fell to the ground. I didn't hear a sound for him falling to the ground, but then I just heard the sound for this guy to the right. Chances are there's probably already material in there for all of this happening. It's probably just getting absolutely buried in the mix. If you're ever having trouble trying to get point focus on a particular thing that's already in your mix, just duck everything else, take everything else out, make that the main point of your mix, and then just quickly bring everything back in. It's literally just like side chaining a kick in music, but for specific things you want to put most focus on.
Yeah, similar stuff for me. I think one of my things again is the jets and stuff sound really cool, but they almost feel like some of the stuff feels like it's lacking in power, especially in the low end.
Yeah.
So some of those flybys could just be a little bit more bassy in body, that they're like, and same with some of the close-up shots and stuff. But I think again, like everything is filled in there, and yeah, right. Last clip, I believe, and we'll go through this one quickly to then move on, so we have time for Diego's reel.
Yeah. Should we play it one more time?
Absolutely.
All right, cool. I really, really like that pulse.
Yeah.
It's definitely got a nice. It'd be nice to just get a little bit of either bringing the highs up just a fraction, or just bring in something else, like some kind of like granular synthesized high end thing, just to give it just a tiny bit of a bite, not too much, just a little bit. That bit's all cool, and then again, really sick transitions in here.
Yeah.
Although I guess that's part of like the trailer anyway. But one thing missing, that cockpit bit there. It would be really nice to hear, like, your the sound of that the steering stick just getting absolutely jolted to the right. Get some nice mechanical cockpit foley in there. Maybe like an incoming alarm or something like that, just to give context to the visuals sonically.
Yeah, because the change is happening pretty fast as well with this weird switch. So it's like grounding it a little bit more through some extra layers will help also the viewer to figure out what's going on.
Yeah, you've only got like literally 2 seconds for that, but again, it's a complete change of perspective, so you need to make sure that the audio is representing that perspective.
Yeah.
So
yeah, awesome. I mean, I think the last thing here is just like, because obviously this is an interesting one because it's space explosions, so it's like, but since we hear stuff anyway in here, I would just love to hear a little bit more on that. These visuals are absolutely stunning. And then same here, as we're flying away from it, it's like all blasting up around us. And I think you could add in some more stuff. And then when the vehicle rushes past us, again, bring in some more low end, like cinematic whoosh. And yeah, then we've got it. As Adam says, details. I need a button. I need a soundboard button for that.
You do, and we have to like get everyone in the community to submit.
Yeah, I think if we could create a community soundboard for like the streams.
Yep, I'm down. It's happening for the next one.
Just all
yeah.
Like...
Overall, some very, very nice sound design in here.
Yeah.
Again, it's just the point focus. Point focus is quite off in this. Nothing to worry about. I can't see the name. Brana?
Yes, Brana.
Yeah, Brana, if you're watching this, don't worry. There's a lot of awesome stuff in here. You just need to pick which things, like the other reels, you need to pick which things you need to bring to the forefront and make sure you just fill those gaps. The explosion at the beginning, really cool. Just get more physical stuff in there, just your elemental layers, and it'll be a pretty nice reel.
Yeah, agreed. As Adam said, detail.
God, I'm going to be saying that for the rest of the day.
Sorry.
People who have no context either.
Last reel, Diego. Let's go.
Let's go. Ooh.
Damn. Really, really good. Really good.
Hearing some nice stuff tonight.
Yeah, this one has so much weight, especially for like this stuff. And the door and everything. I think the balance in here is good. You've got some great like contrast. This as well, it feels very like immersed. Good mix between the kind of ambience versus first person perspective, and then the little glitch at the end, the little details. That's where it's at. That's the details. And I promise this was the last time.
Someone's going to make you a badge or a cap that you're going to have to wear at any conference you go to.
With like one of those desk buttons, just, you know.
Just be careful, man. Someone will make it for you.
I hope so. Yeah, I think honestly the main thing that stood out to me, right, like when I listened to this was like a body fall here. It was like, oh, that body fall could be a little bit more up in there. But I think overall, like, this is a super, super amazing reel. What are your first impressions, Ash?
Yeah, I liked it a lot. Quite again with all the other reels we've heard tonight, a lot of nice sound design. Everyone's reels we've heard tonight, everyone can design sounds. It's just a point of just just tweaking, just shifting the focus, bringing the right bits up. Yeah, let's go through each deal. I really like the Splash logo.
Me too. I think the main thing for me as well, though, is I've been preaching against this for ages, and obviously you've said it in the beginning as well, silence. So once you've got the logo, make this shorter. People don't need to see your email for ages. They will, you've applied somewhere, they'll watch your reel, and you've got it also at the end and everything. So just cut this short, bring in, while you've got this splash, bring in the ambience of the next one already, or the elements of the next one, and then that creates a really nice transition. So you can just like cut a couple of seconds out of this, make it really short. You've got the splash, your details, and then smoothly get into the next one without having to kind of stall the immediate like coolness that you've got going on by like silence. And yeah, I think that's a big just initial thing for me.
Yeah, that is a very fair thing to say, because the next segment after the splash, like the first segment, is a slow pace thing. So if you've got a long gap in your first splash going into a slow first segment, it seems superficial, but at the end of the day, in people who are looking for sound designers to fill a role, they've got like 50 to 100 reels to go through. Like their legs going to be jittering, and they're going to be like, oh, please hurry up. It's not too detrimental, but it's just a nice little detail. Like momentum's really important in a reel, but it is a nice sounding reel.
Momentum.
Nice sounding reel, nice sounding intro. Yeah.
That's the key word.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think I have much to say for that. I like it. I like the whoomp especially. You got anything for this one? Do you want to listen to it again?
It's just like handy for me to make sure my speakers aren't loud enough to kill me. I'm happy.
That's actually true. Yeah, I forget that a lot of the time we don't watch reels in Reaper, obviously, so we can't see that it's like maxed out.
Yep.
All right, tuning.
All right.
That was great. Any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I liked it. Using stuff like Tunic, though, in a reel for me is very risky, because, again, with the momentum, how slow paced it is. Everything in here sounds nice, sounds juicy. It's a bit on the almost limit crushing side, where, again, talking like we talked about earlier on, limit crushing is good when sound designing something that has extraordinary power and weight. It's like a metal band where they're doing like their second breakdown. That's when you slam your limiter to make it sound like you're getting smashed by a boulder. But when it's the overall kind of master output, like everything here, it just kind of, I feel like I've coined a new term, pillowed. It's a bit pillowed to me. It'd be nice to get a bit more bite out of everything. But it does sound nice. It's a brave move using this when there's not too much happening right now. But yeah, it works for a first segment. You'd be in trouble with me if you did awesome segments and then this came on third or last. That would ruin the momentum for me.
I think you can kind of build this into kind of just taking more of the interesting parts. So like obviously this whole thing is super long, so if you just kind of like take all of this out, which is a huge chunk of the reel, and the like cross whole thing of it, like a 6 or something, and just then go directly into the action, or even into the when it does.
Yeah. But then there was like the light activation sound, wasn't there?
Yeah, so the light activation. So maybe from here, because we don't necessarily need the first one, I guess.
Yeah. But overall, it sounds nice.
Yeah.
Everything we look at as a sound everything happening as a sound. So you've got that box tick.
It's also nice and visualized. Cool. Next.
Yes.
Nice.
Right, I like the weapon fire. It'd be cool. There was a kind of like an overtone in the post fire details. It was like a meow. It'd be cool if, yeah, that little kind of whistle. It'd be nice if that was brought up a little bit more in the mix. Weapons are hard, man. You need to get your percussiveness. You need to get your ignition. You need to get your Foley right. 8 times out of 10, the interesting part of the sound of the weapon sound is in the tail itself. That's where you get the signature of it. So I can hear it's there. It would be nice to have that brought up, like accentuated a little bit more.
Yep. Definitely agree. For me, also, there's just not really just at the end here. So the is really cool, but personally, I don't feel like it fits with this aesthetic. It sounds very like cutesy, 8-bit, especially kind of it feels more
Wreck-It Ralph beef up.
Yeah, so something a little bit more on the edge, a little bit more aggressive, I think would suit the health up sound better. Yeah, personal preference.
Yeah, bit more Foley on the clicking as well. Get more hyper focus on just like shaking the item about, like even just the sound of like just taking it from your pocket, clicking the button, and then punching it in or whatever's happening with it. I can't really tell how it's being used.
Yeah, it looks
like the thumb went up. The thumb goes up and nothing happens. Yeah, just that little detail, even like a click there for when the thumb comes up.
Yeah. Definitely. Cool.
I do like the shotgun.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good one. Right, volume up. Nice. So, a couple of things. I think in general here, you can go a little bit more hard on some of the kind of well, I don't know what I would call them, but things like the lantern here, where you've got this. The soul is literally being sucked in. I think it would be really cool to have like more of a sound that represents what's on screen. At the moment it feels very like magical again, and so it would just be cool to have a little bit more of a gritty sound of the soul of this creature being sucked into the lantern. And then also like when the door opens and stuff like that, just like more debris and things like when you stand into here. There's nothing for the initial, really, or it's really, really, really low in the mix. So it's like you see it's a staggered footstep, so... And...
Yeah, just a slight crunch.
Something like that is just... would be really nice. What do you think, Ash?
Right, so for what I'm going to do is mention pre-wishes again.
Yep.
Pre-wishes also count for a pre-charge. So a power-up of a weapon, a power-up of this lantern. You know, get something nice in there, then a nice pop. And someone mentioned, yeah, Adam said, reverb-drenched scream. Yes, we need more reverb-drenched screams in our lives. So put that in there. Make that as a nice, disturbing element to this. Because it's like capturing souls anyway, so they must... I'd be annoyed if I'm in a lantern on someone's hip for the rest of eternity. For the actual creature's voice itself, could definitely... is a good starting point. I think definitely go back to the drawing board with it, but keep what you have at the moment and explore... Just explore weird things. What I'd probably do is I'd just, you know, have a couple of drinks, and then sit in front of the microphone and just go, like, just do really weird, bizarre kind of like almost like lazy zombie stuff. Morph it using like transmutator or something, or morph it with like tree bark breaking or something like that. So you've got like a weird physical, skeletal, vocal element, and then switch between that and what you've got already. So it's like just something really weird. Like, see, just try recording for like 20 minutes, making random noises, and see what you can find.
Yep.
And yeah, for this crunch, yeah, just a little bit more crunch. I mean, I get it. Like ashes, they're very delicate, but I didn't even notice it until you pointed out, Greg. But you've got like like the footstep getting a bit like, so there's some resistance there.
I
So
spent
just
like a year just doing Foley, so I'm like hyper fixated sometimes on that stuff.
yeah.
It's what happens. I guess you with creatures.
Not so much. I'm trying.
It's just
Not trying to avoid creatures. I've not had a chance to work on creatures again yet, but yeah, I get it. Foley people are a different breed anyway.
True. For me, also one of the things that I've noticed here is you've got the stab, and it's a very like physical like stab. Again, I think you can just go a little bit more out there and just make
Reverb Drench Scream.
yeah, for example.
Yep.
But yeah, just make it like a little bit more sound designy, ethereal, magical, whatever. Like just blended with those physical layers, because yeah, like you're seeing on screen here, it's literally like getting sucked into this thing, so it's not that physical anymore. And before that, it was also pretty gnarly and messed up already. So also just some more like maybe bone breakish elements and stuff, like some crunch for the sword going in. That will give it like a really visceral feel, make it feel old and kind of breakable as well in a way, especially after it gets like electrocuted by the lantern.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. I think
cool.
In that case, for this reel, like main pointers are get rid of the silence and maybe cut this tuning clip teeny bit shorter.
Yep.
And I think at this end as well, honestly, I think you can just bring up the elements in the mix a little bit more, just because it feels like it's getting quieter over the course of it, especially at the end.
Yeah, another thing I'd like to point out with reels is a lot of people send me reels where they do a segment, and the segment is literally just like not even 10 seconds of a game where, for instance here, weapon fired, health used, and then straight onto the next segment. The idea of segments in your sound design reels or sound redesign reels is to flex what you can do in a certain game genre or context. So if I hear one awesome sound, I'm like, oh, cool. And then it just cuts to a different game. I'm like, oh, I want to hear more weapons. I want to hear more creatures. I want to hear like explosions. I know this game. I love it. I want to see, so try and get a bit more stuff happening in your segments. That's the two worst things you can do in my eyes. Have a segment that is long and nothing going on in it, and a segment that seems awesome, but it's far too short.
Yep. Those are definitely some great tips. And I have to say, like, all the reels we've reviewed have been absolutely awesome. So really, really great work. I say it each and every time, but it's really hard to put yourself out there and get your ego bruised a little bit. So great stuff for being able to do that, especially on like a live stream for other people to see. That's especially tough rather than sending it privately. So thank you all for doing that. And feedback is really important at any stage. And yeah, we also get lots of feedback. Well, Ash is the one giving the feedback. But
happily do more. I could do final tidbits if you like for like just across the board for everyone. Like
Yeah,
everyone,
shoot away.
everyone's feels tonight. Like Greg said, awesome. Everyone's demonstrated some really nice sound design. Just focus on your point focus. It will help you in your sound design, in your panning, and in your mix. Everything your eyes land on, make sure that there's a sound for it. And if there's a sound for it, you can barely hear it, bring that forward in the mix and just do your pass on that on your whole reel. And then you'll sit back and you've pretty much done 80% of the work.
Yep.
So, yeah.
100%. If you're doing the point stuff as well and you're in any DAW, just make markers in your session. Put them in there. And then you don't have to think about it afterwards. You can just put the stuff in and sync, and you don't have to worry about like, where was this again? So yeah, markers.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm really glad you say that. If we stay on this screen, if you this can fix the point focus, and it can also fix any mix issues that you're having. I know plenty of people have issues with their mix where they just can't. They don't know where to make a certain point too loud or too quiet, or where to put the energy. Just look at put a marker on all of your high power, high energy moments. Bring your whole session down, everything inside it, all tracks down, -6, and then go to all of these points where you've got your high energy and bring those up. And then once you feel like you've got a good balance, then bring everything up as well. So you're just gently tickling your limiter, and then just do a cross reference between the beginning, middle, and end for loudness. And there you go. You've added like breath to your mix.
Yeah, awesome advice. And yeah, since all of this stuff is linear, use automation. That is just a very easy and simple tool to make things quieter and louder and all of that jazz. And like, so definitely don't forget about it, because we can do it in the game, of course, but we can especially do it in linear. It's really, really easy.
Yeah, I'm tempted to say I don't use automation, but I'll probably get beaten up in the office next time I go to it. So, no compressors, no automation.
All right.
Throw everything out the window.
Crikey. Yeah, awesome. I think then that's it for this episode. Thank you so much for coming on, Ash, and sharing all of your awesome knowledge and great advice and feedback.
No problem. Thanks for having me. Enjoyed it.
Anyone that wants to submit reels, I'll put it in the chat. Basically, you submit it via Game Audio Learning, and yeah, you just shoot it in here. Unfortunately, I am pretty behind. Like 2 months behind, so I'm gonna have to ramp up the frequency with which I'll do these, but I'm sure we'll have you on again at some point, Ash, and yeah, looking forward to it. All right, thank you everyone for joining and for watching, and for the people submitting. Have a wonderful evening, morning, day, wherever you are, and see you in the next one.
Catch you later.